In part one, we started building in one of the most hyped cases of 2023. But it doesn't fit up through here anymore. I've already found a few issues. Hopefully we can overcome them today and give this case away to one of our subscribers. So for the 240mm radiator, I should be able to slot that in behind like this. Now, for the ports, I'm actually gonna have them down the bottom like so, because if they were up here, they're gonna collide with this radiator here. I've got the thinnest radiator on there that I have, and there's not enough room for me to get the tubes down here. So the ports have to be down the bottom if you're running a 360 and a 240 radiator. Now, keep in mind, guys, Hype actually says that this case works really well with a 360mm all-in-one liquid CPU cooler. So you're not gonna have these issues with that. That's if you're not doing custom water cooling. Looks like you can also fit a 280mm radiator here as well if you really wanted to. So I've got some Trident Z5 RAM to try in there. This should work. I mean, you can see the height difference. It's absolutely crazy. All right, this is gonna be a tight squeeze, but I think we should be able to do it with the radiator installed. I probably should have put them in first, but it shouldn't be an issue. I think I got it. Yep, there we go. There's the first stick, and there's plenty of clearance there. I'd say it's about 5mm. And for the second stick, so line that up. There we go, perfect. I don't know whether to install this or not. Maybe I might just screw it in for now with 2 screws, because that's all we can put in. We'll make our decision up at the end as to what looks better, I guess. All right, how's that look? Yeah, see, I don't like the angle that it's on. It's not straight. This little bit of the case is protruding a little bit. I think I might remove it. Would have been cool to have a bit more LED lighting there, but I think at the top and here will be enough. Then of course, I'm sure the GPU probably has some RGB lighting, so that'll light up there. Then we're gonna have the RGB lighting for the CPU block as well. Our graphics card of choice is the PowerColor Liquid Devil 7900 XTX GPU. This one is only a 1-slot graphics card as well, so it's gonna give us plenty of room for any tubing if we choose to add that to the front. But I'm thinking if we can keep it as clean as possible, then we'll get the best view of the graphics card. Plenty of room for the port to come out if need be. Just not sure what type of reservoir I want to add in here yet. We've got this gap here, or I could put something small up here. Let's go grab some reservoirs and see what options we have. Okay, so we're going to be using a Cooler Master 1050 watt power supply, and my only concern with using a power supply as large as this is that when you start to insert the cables over here, you've got the fan there. So is the fan going to be touching any of the cables, or are the cables going to be able to fit there? But if you were to go any bigger and the power supply was right up against that frame there, I don't feel like you'd be able to get a lot of the cables installed. But anyway, 1050 watts should be plenty for our high-end system. All right, so this was very hard to install, but we managed to get an FLT 120 pump res combo inside. It's a D5 pump. We were gonna put it down the bottom, but the GPU unfortunately is sticking out a little too far, so we couldn't install it on the bottom fan, but we got it installed on the top fan. Now, I think what would have made this a lot easier to install is if I could remove this front glass panel. By releasing a couple of screws on the inside, I may be able to remove this. Now that everything's installed, I think it's time to think about the tubing. Guys, if you're a PC builder like me and you're building computers all the time, sometimes you can forget to do things in order. We didn't plug in our CPU power before installing the radiator, so we had no access to the ports up the top of the motherboard. However, this genius case design actually gives us slits here where we have access to all of these ports and power to connect stuff without having to remove the radiator. It saves us a lot of time. Okay, so I've installed the fittings, and here's my thoughts for the water cooling loop. Now, this, I still need to put another screw back up the top, but pretend that's screwed in. We're gonna have the outlet here from the pump down into the radiator. Out of this radiator, we're gonna come straight out, across, and up to the GPU. The GPU's not really gonna be affected by direction or anything, so this will work perfectly fine. Then we're gonna come out of the GPU into the radiator here. Now, we had to use extension fittings up the top because the EK fittings, the collar is way too thick to fit up there between the fans and the ports, so we had to use the extensions. Now we're gonna come out of the radiator straight into the CPU block, which is directional, and this is going into the inlet, which is fantastic, straight out of the radiator. Of course, we're gonna come back out, we're gonna come out, down, and then back in to fill up the reservoir again. Now there may be some slight changes, of course, but we'll go ahead and start bending the tubes and see where we're at. Look at that, she's all tubed up. We went for a lot of 9 90-degree bend, so it kind of follows the case designs on all of the panels, so I think it looks quite unique and really interesting in this case. I still don't know what color liquid I'm gonna go with yet, but that all depends on how we theme this build if we do end up theming it. So I need to do a bit of research. Amelia put out a poll yesterday to our Patreons and members asking what type of color or theme we should go for with the build. What do we have in the Patreon channel? With those horns, show the bull some red. Think it means like Red Bull theme? Do you think? Yeah?
Maybe.
Paw says Red Devil. This is the Liquid Devil. This isn't the Red Devil. So we had 2 responses. There's not a lot to go off of there. I mean, Red Bull would be pretty cool, but we've already done a bit of red. What else do we have? So over on Patreon itself, Liam Hart says Pink Dragons. What does that mean? All right, what about over on the YouTube member tab? It's Beach again. He still wants some more Red Bull. Double the Red Bull.
You can't do red. You've done like heaps of red. You have to do grey.
Grey?
Grey.
Looks like we're doing grey. Got myself some Cable Mod cables. Can never go wrong with the black. Of course, we need some cables for the GPU as well. So we've loaded up some Cyberpunk 2077 to see what we could get. 4K ultra settings, none of that bullshit turned on like ray tracing and that. This is purely GPU performance with no software improvement. And at the moment, getting around 80, 90 FPS. We have seen as low as 75 FPS, so anywhere from 75 to about 96 FPS, we're able to achieve 4K ultra settings in Cyberpunk 2077. GPU seems to be sitting at around that 42 degrees Celsius mark, and I can hear a little bit of coil whine on the GPU. PUBG ultra settings 4K, we're getting about 150, 160 FPS. GPU's running at about 42 degrees Celsius. Look at this guy, he's just landed over here. So the lowest FPS we've seen is about 129 and the highest we've seen is about 170 FPS. Obviously it depends where you are on the map as well. You know, what is happening on screen? Is there a lot of visual effects? That all plays a part in how much FPS you will see visually on screen. And lastly, we have Call of Duty Warzone 2, currently 4K max settings, and we're getting 160 FPS. I actually have not played this map before or played much of this game, so I have no idea where I'm going. As you can see, 167 FPS, 3v1, and we're currently getting 42 degrees Celsius, and I just got absolutely hammered. If you would like a chance at winning one of these amazing Hyte Y40 cases, just leave a comment down below telling us why you would like it. For an additional entry, click on the video right here and tell us in the comments below what the grossest component was in this video.